All right, so this is for our last DBA. This is in Gallery 8. You were given this architecture piece, which at first glance you're thinking, what am I looking at? So I'm going to talk a little bit about what it is and then what you have to do for the DBA. Okay, so this is a architectural piece by Charles Moore. It's called the Piazza d'Italia. And the interesting thing about this piece is it's not a physical building. People can move around it, they can interact with it, but there's no like closed off um, rooms. It's not like an exterior building that you walk into. So don't think like normal building architecture. Think more of like um, all of these structures here, these center structures and arches, all center around a fountain. Okay, so this is like water down here. So there's a fountain in the center, um, and it kind of follows a circular format that within the fountain, and you have this water, there's areas to walk around. It can weave through these kind of open walls here. And this was an example of postmodernism. So, what you need to first do is just research about the piece. So, type it in a Google search, figure out, look at the layout, figure out where it's located, all that good stuff. All right. So, bring to the table some facts of what you've learned about this piece and about postmodern art, okay, which in general is a kind of a collection or blended of many styles, which is why they chose this artwork because the second part of the DBA is that you need to connect where are we seeing some of these influences from other time periods, okay, or other cultures. And that's what I want to touch on. Not that I'm going to go into a lot because you can choose different architecture pieces, but I am going to point you in the specific direction I want you to go, okay? And to kind of pay what to kind of look for, all right? Um, so in this piece here, I have a couple of visuals. This is just a general visual. This is the in the center one. I'm looking at the center image, the fountain and kind of the water. And what you'll see is that he wanted to kind of honor and give tribute to the Italian culture. So I believe this shape here kind of actually looks like the country. And then you have all of these wall or facades, okay, that kind of surround it. So, one of the things that I want you to pay attention to are the columns. What culture or where are we seeing these style of columns? Make sure you can identify them. Same thing as a looking at other details. We have archways, so you can kind of reference where are we seeing the archways in a variety of like think churches or cathedrals. What culture are we doing? Are we seeing that from? And then his use of color, like we have this like it goes in a circular motif, but we have this repetitive pattern. So I want you to think repetitive patterns where we have black and white, and then even the stones, we have like a darker stone followed by a lighter stone. So he does build in this use of pattern um, throughout his kind of his layout. So I want you to think, where are we seeing that as well? What cultures, what architecture, building styles have that? And so if I'm giving you some like direction to point to, I did want to bring up that you may want to check out Gallery 2, specifically lesson 2.02, because that talks about Greek. So I think you definitely should mention the idea of the Greeks, particularly since it was them who determined the capital designs with these columns. So go figure out which ones are we seeing, how do we identify them, and what's that terminology, okay? If we're also looking at past galleries, definitely take a look at Gallery 3, specifically lessons 3.01 and 3.02. That's where we brought up the idea of Romans and Romanesque cathedrals, where we're really seeing the introduction of archways followed by the piers. So even though we don't have like buttresses in this case, I think you could probably find some influences there. Not only that, if you're looking into like 3.2 and into 3.3, you're going to see some buildings that use pattern, like the idea of having this repetition of pattern. So even though the patterns are not the same, you can make that as a style connection. And then lastly, I want to draw your attention to gallery 5.02, where we're looking at kind of Renaissance. And again, looking at the churches of the Renaissance, you're going to find some connections just even through the outward facades, the pillars, kind of some of these decorative, but and the use of patterns. So, what I would like you to do to get ready for this DBA is to go back into those specific galleries, find 2, okay, I would like a minimum of 2, find 2 pieces of architecture that you've studied that you can make a direct connection to this piece. And in your prep writing, I want you to reference the 2 architecture pieces that you used and where you're seeing the connections, and then the DBA will be discussing that, okay? It might also be helpful if you included images or something like that within the writing. Okay, so hopefully that helps kind of explain what this DBA is. If you have more questions, just let me know, and I look forward to talking with you soon.